Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call this 97th meeting of the Jacksonville Tourism Development Authority to order. Welcome everyone out in the stands and those viewing at home on G10. The first item of business today is the adoption of the agenda. We got the agenda the other day. I reckon everybody got a chance to review.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then the second thing we'll do today is the approval of the minutes from the regular May 30th, 2024 meeting.
I have a missed a typo or something here. Hold on a minute.
Okay.
Let me find it. Where it talks about, gosh dang it. Can we come back to that?
Can we table that till the end of?
Let's come back to that. Let me look through it, if you don't mind. There's a problem here.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. We'll move right on then to our first action item today. It's a FY 2024-25 legislative budget amendment and spending plan modification. And Mr. Prince?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is a mouthful because we're trying to do a lot with this one particular item. But hopefully you'll find when we get to the question as to whether or not the director support it, that this is a really good thing for us to move forward in partnership with the city. We are only 24 days into the budget and we are already amending the budget. So, just the way things go. But this is a good opportunity. And the reason that we're making this request is because we're looking to move forward with phase 2 of the recreation and sports complex. As you recall, we partnered with the city on phase 1, which was essentially the public involvement process, as well as completing a master plan for the city's 400 acres at the end of Western Boulevard. All of that work is done, and everybody seems to be pleased with the outcome, so we'd really like to move forward with phase 2. You can see there on the screen the different line items within the scope of work. Essentially what we're doing here is we're moving from what was primarily planning work into design, okay? So you see schematic design, that's for the buildings themselves. We're trying to get to 30% on those, so we have a good idea of exactly what they are, what they look like, and can then move forward to full design and construction with a much higher detail cost estimate than what we're working with right now. Of course, we're going to have to do a traffic impact analysis, no two ways about it. But one thing on there, the plan unit development, that is a zoning action that we're going to have to go through with the planning commission, well, the planning board, excuse me, and the city council in order to get authority to build what it was included in the master plan itself. We'll also do some outdoor recreation planning, so trying to identify what we're going to do with the areas where we can't build structures. So as you're aware, a good portion of the property is within the floodplain, and even though it is, we can still use it. The question is, what do we want to use it for? The public involvement indicated that trails were a very high priority, whether they be walking trails or biking trails, things like disc golf. All of those are things that we want to try to locate in that quote unquote undevelopable space. We also want to work on a plan to manage the facility and then also an RFP to solicit a contractor to do that. Feedback from others that we've talked to who manage these types of facilities, they indicate that you need to get those folks involved before you go to final design of the building. Okay, they can give you a lot of good information, a lot of good feedback on how the building's actually going to be operated, so that we don't make any, so that we can avoid some pitfalls in the design itself. And then a funding plan. We've got to make sure that we know how to pay for the project once we get ready to bid it. So the timeline here, if we're successful today in the request, and if we're also successful on August 7th with the City Council, We would like to begin the process by the end of the month. And as you can see, there are several items there that are going to run concurrently. It is a 28-week contract, so that puts us into February of 2025. And again, most of those will run concurrently, but some of the work has to be done before we can actually apply for the planned unit development. But the thought is that we should be able to get the planned unit development done by the end of the calendar year. Once we get to February 25, and if everybody feels good with where we're headed, then we would move into phase 3, which is full design, moving into bidding and hopefully construction. So looking at cost, this is primarily a design and engineering contract. So as you can see, the fee is pretty high. But just know that this is planning and engineering and design work for a pretty large area. And when you look at the schematic design cost, that's actually for 3 different locations on the site. One of those is the event center itself. The other are the field house, the restrooms, and all the buildings associated with the rectangular fields. And then the last is a maintenance facility that's going to be required to upkeep the entire campus. 2 of those line items have asterisks next to them. I can sound that out. The reason is because those are time and material line items. We won't know the exact cost until we get into the work. But the $19,000 that you see there and the $30,000, we will not. I really don't anticipate us exceeding those values. Those are very conservative numbers. So any questions on the cost there?
Maybe ask John this, but can you remind me what planned unit development means? Again, that's special.
It's a special use review. The only one we have in Jacksonville right now is Holiday City Mobile Home Park. We did that to accommodate them kind of during the time of COVID and so forth. They were trying to do some renovations over there and so forth. But once you adopt it, you have set in stone what you want that to look like. You have then said, again, you have to go through the whole process of planning board and so forth, and it's a public hearing, neighbors would be notified, et cetera. But you're giving them, or us, the city in this case, opportunities to do things outside the UDO by giving them the opportunity to set out, for example, say the streets are X in all the city, you may want them to be Y. That could be larger or less. But there's those kind of things that the planned unit development allows you to do to make modifications to the UDO. But once it's set, it's set. And everybody needs to understand that because up front, I think Anthony and Ryan have already been having some communications on this. So that
So you better do it right the first.
I would suggest that to begin with.
Well, it can always be modified, of course, but who wants to go through the process more than once? So again, when I go back to the timeline, that's why the planned unit development is lagging behind some of the other activities, because we want to make sure that we get into the TIA, into the planning and engineering and some of the schematic design on the buildings before we start that process. And the first, I would say, month and a half of that PUD process is essentially public involvement, where we have to schedule public meetings and we have to answer questions and all of that kind of stuff. But the greatest benefit that it provides us is that it allows us to have a mixture of different uses essentially on the same campus. So we can have the multifamily, we can have the mixed-use commercial if we like, we can have all the recreation and, so it gives us a lot of flexibility even though it is a pretty involved process. Any other thoughts, questions? So if we follow the same approach that we took with phase 1, the TDA would split 50-50 the overall cost of the contract. And of course here, as long as my math is working out correctly, it would be around $946,000. So the requested action is for the directors to consider a legislative budget amendment in the amount shown. And the reason that we're not asking for the full 940 some odd is because there is an unassigned balance in the tourism-related line item of our current work program or spending plan. So the legislative budget amendment would appropriate the amount shown, like I said, from the unobligated tourism-related fund balance to the fiscal year 25 budget. And if that is approved, then we would ask that you consider a spending plan modification to appropriate $950,000 for the purpose of that contract. Now, the reason that we're going for that round number is because there were some incidental expenses last time we worked with McAdams, things like printing cost and things of that nature that actually went over and above the base fee. This was presented to the city council. They seemed to like the concept, and like I said, we're going to ask for their concurrence in August. Mr. Hagan?
John, I have a question. We have two pots of money. This is coming out of the tourism side. Have we vetted that is okay?
Yes, out of that side, you pretty have authority to use the agency rate. The promotion money is the one that has the real strings on it. So by coming out of the other side, I think you're fine.
Okay.
Now, once we get to phase 3, there might be some promotion money that we can use because there's going to be some signage design and various other things. But, we'll have to look at that in a little bit more detail. But what's included in this scope, I feel that it falls pretty firmly in the tourism-related category. And just for reference, if you're interested, this is, I left it over there, but this is from year-end close fiscal '23, but the tourism-related unobligated balance was around $3.9 million.
That makes me feel better because I thought it was somewhere around 4 million and I was looking for 4 million and I can't find it. So, okay, so we're basically a year behind in the figures.
Well, and the reason is because we're still working on the fiscal year closeout and the financial
Yeah.
statements. And
Understand.
I get the feeling, and Sabrina may not want me to say this, but I get the feeling that fund balance is going to continue to increase with our upcoming financial reports.
I share the same feeling.
Be okay. Financial expenses, just not the actual financial statements for the year, but the quarterly financial report that you had requested.
All right, gentlemen, we're asked to approve a legislative budget amendment, the spending plan modification is shown in attachments A and B.
I move that we accept what is in front of us and move forward.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposition? Motion carries. Great.
Mr. Chairman, can we go back to the minutes? I found it. Turn to page 3, roughly the middle of the page, slightly below the middle. Paragraph, Chairman Thomas inquired about signs at the Commons and Western Boulevard. Mr. Prince provided location information and said they needed to be cost prohibitive. I don't think that's what you meant.
No, sir. They were cost prohibitive.
They are.
Or were, whatever the correct tense is, yes.
So sharp.
Just so you know, I do read occasionally.
Well, I'm glad to know that somebody reads them.
Me too.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Warden.
Since you do them, right?
Rose and Taylor work hard on these minutes.
Thank you.
Would you like to make a motion with that
Yes,
modification?
make a motion that we approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Well, back to the last item we just approved.
Yes, sir.
I think everybody's concurrent. They were 100% behind this sports commission. But you should go ahead and maybe advise the council we're not going to go 50-50 for much longer. We'll be tapped out before. So,
Practically, I don't think we can continue to go 50-50 for much longer.
Right, but-
What we have talked about is what the TDA's role might be in the facility long-term. And it's more of a, can we support operations and maintenance and promotion and things of that nature? Those are much more sustainable things that we can do to support the facility. But yeah, when it comes to the capital cost of physically constructing, we'll be right there, thumbs up supporting, but maybe not at 50/50.
Great.
Now, at some point, I'm assuming out there, we'll have a joint meeting with the council to discuss the finances going forward as far as what we're able to put into the pot and what the council's expectations are.
I would recommend that we do that probably early next year.
Right.
Because if you look at the timeline, we don't want to have a gap between the end of Phase 2 and the beginning of Phase 3 unless it's absolutely necessary.
Right.
So having that conversation with the council maybe in January would be a good thing.
Oh, I'm not advocating for any particular date. I just.
Sure.
Right.
I want to make sure that that meeting's going to take place.
We'll look for dates and get some options. But that's probably about where it would be most effective.
So we can move on to item number 2, the 2024 meeting calendar amendment. Page 13.
Yes, sir. As you recall, last time we were together, we talked about changing the format of our standing committee regular meeting approach. And the thought was that we would really like to move towards more of a bi-monthly workshop format. That way, all the directors can participate in all of the discussion, as opposed to 3 being on capital side and 3 being on the promotion side. And to do that, we're recommending that we start come August and that we establish 2 meetings in the current calendar year, one on August 29th and the other on October 31st. So we'll all have to dress up for that one, of course. But come December, the holiday schedule is so intense, we're recommending that we forego that one. And then in 2025, if we still feel that this approach is good, we'll continue that on through with the new calendar for that year. So the request, of course, is that we consider amending the calendar to add those dates. And if that's approved, then that's what we'll do.
Are we still in the mode where if there's no work to be done, that the meetings?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Well, let's hope we don't do that.
Well, we've got a lot of things going on.
That's what
so
yeah.
what we'll promise you is if there's no meaningful discussion, then we will recommend canceling the meetings.
Okay.
All right, gentlemen, we're looking for a motion.
I move that we approve the dates that are in front of us.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that one passes as well. Okay, we got some presentations.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Let's see, the first one is the Jacksonville Osprey update.
Just that right arrow.
Okay.
Eli?
Thank you, Mr. Prince, and thank you, Jacksonville TDA, for having us here today. My wife is seated next to me, and our general manager, Dylan's with us as well. So forgive me if I mess this up. This is my first time using this. All right. So,
There we go.
So introduction, so a lot of you guys already know a lot about the Jacksonville Ospreys. In the beginning, it was our goal to bring baseball, upper-level baseball to Jacksonville for entertainment purposes and to bring players to our community. First of all, we'd like to say, before we get further into the presentation, that we're very grateful for the TDA's support in the past to make this season a success. It truly was beneficial, and it showed to not just the players, but also the fans in attendance. So, players. So we had players arrive literally from all over the United States, as far away as Oregon, Texas. We had players from Michigan, players from Alabama, Georgia, and we even had some international players. Players arrived from Tokyo, Japan. We had one player from Canada and a couple players from the Dominican Republic, where they reside from. But they all collectively go to school and play baseball here in the United States. So for some of these players to make that commitment to come to Jacksonville to play baseball meant for going home to Tokyo for the summer. and maybe not seeing their families for that much longer. So all these players are very grateful for the opportunity to come here. So the players were definitely viewed as mentors in our community. Even several players have, without solicitation, came to myself or my wife or Dylan and said how much they appreciated the fact that kids or youth after every game would come up to them and ask for autographs. You would think potentially that the players might not want that, but actually it's the opposite. I can attest to you that the players thoroughly enjoy meeting with the youth, whether it's before the game or after the game on the field. And if you attended the games, you definitely saw where we opened the gates up and families and kids would come in. We get asked all the time, hey, do you have a Sharpie? Do you have a Sharpie at the concession stand? Because frankly, so many kids wanted to get autographs, and we thought that was very refreshing to see that. I think the players really enjoyed the attention and the collaboration that they had with the community in that respect. One thing I'd like to also quickly mention is that at the beginning of the season, we definitely engaged the local school there, Clyde Irwin. We took the mascot in there. One day I was actually the mascot and walked into the lunchroom and we engaged the kids. The kids were super enthusiastic to meet with the players. There were several times where the kids came out to the ball field to watch the players practice. And that was very fun to watch and a great way to interact with a school that's just a few hundred feet away. So, all right, so community spirit. So we definitely wanted to build, a season that was based on a lot of theme nights. We wanted to make sure that whatever theme night we had planned, that it was, I wouldn't say low enough hanging fruit that we could do, but just something that we wouldn't back ourselves into a corner. It was our first year, so the learning curve was going to be great, and it was, but we learned so much so quickly that if we had to do it all over again, we feel like we'd be automatic pros doing this. It was really fun to watch, really fun to put together the theme nights, if you will, and then see them get put into action for each and every home game. I think the theme nights were critical in providing that extra level of entertainment besides just the game of baseball. All right. So, two of the main pillars of summer collegiate baseball, if you will, are basically player development and bringing families together, a community, if you will. So one thing, the whole reason why summer collegiate baseball even exists in the first place is because collegiate athletes want to play baseball in the summer in a community that'll be fitting for them to either, one, be able to sign with another school in a better situation, or two, to sign professionally. Ultimately, the goal is to sign professionally. If you guys are familiar with baseball, that goal is, a goal of many baseball players that play at the collegiate level, but it's very hard to get to that level. There has to be a lot of reps, a lot of opportunity to play baseball year round to be able to get to that level of baseball. So player development is one of the pillars, and then the second pillar is community. So we built this team not just to give players a great place to develop their skills and a welcoming place, but also to bring families together so our community can watch these players play baseball, perfect the craft of baseball, and join in on that fun and experience with them. And at the end of the presentation, I'll give you guys some feedback from the players that we got directly and about their experience here. So, real quick, I also like to add here is that Jacksonville was actually it was a shining star in the Old North State League this season. Although we didn't make the playoffs, and we were very close, one game away. Very close, it was very exciting. But whether it was the league executives, or it was actually other teams that actually called us or sent us messages saying, look, congratulations, we saw, we're hearing about your success. And then on top of that, when other teams would come play Jacksonville at Jack Amiette, a lot of the players were actually very impressed with, one, the crowds or the environment, the support that we were getting from the city, the community, the county, everybody. They could just I mean, it was a recurring theme from players that they enjoyed coming to play baseball here. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we have some of the top players in the league defect to us for next year. So, all right. So some of the figures, we had approximately about 9,500 total in attendance. One thing was we found it very hard, if you will, to really try to get to the Marines on base. You know, I was stationed here at Camp Lejeune, and one of the first things I did after getting here in, what was it, March of 2004 was try to find baseball. And, you know, to my dismay, everything was over a drive away, so it never really amounted to much. But I could tell you, firsthand experience, that there are Marines that want to do this. Now, we've through this season, we've made a lot of contacts with Marine Corps representatives and things, and we actually learned about ways we can actually engage the Marine Corps and, you know, get Marines, say, that are probably stuck in the barracks playing Xbox to actually come out and watch a game under the lights with their buddies. So we're going to definitely engage all those resources in the off season to make even next year a much more well-attended event. Every game we try to collaborate with a nonprofit. That was something we wanted to do with local nonprofits, whether to help increase their cause and reach, but also kind of have them share what we're all about too. So at every home game, if you came out, you usually typically saw a tent set up, whether it was United Way or Share the Table or any number of nonprofits that we partner with. All of them showed great appreciation for the opportunity to be able to collaborate with us. We thought that was a great thing to do with the community for every game. And sponsors. So sponsor support was excellent and very critical. And if you would have told me that, hey, you'll have 45 sponsors, you know, back, you know, last fall, I would have said, oh, financially, this is going to be awesome. Well, a lot of that money was quickly earmarked for uniforms, bus transportation, buying merchandise, and just all the unforeseen expenses in a startup enterprise such as a summer collegiate baseball team. Now, it was great. So it was very critical, but it was great to have that support so we can get off on the right foot. Because I could tell you by going to other teams, other ballparks in the league, you could just sense whether if they didn't really have a lot of support, amenities and overall things were much more muted, if you would. In Jacksonville, things were definitely running at a good pace to be able to make sure that the fans and the players were taken care of. So. And real quick, I'd like to mention that there are definitely a dozen or so plus sponsors that we actually traded a lot of things with. For instance, like food sponsors. After every game, we had to feed the players, both home and away. The food sponsors were great. You know, Golden Corral, Mi Cabana, several other businesses, Red Robin, all provided their food. It was awesome. And then on top of that, the players enjoyed going to Oslo Fitness. We did a trade with them, so that way the players could have that gym access so they can train. Believe it or not, these players spend a lot of time in the gym at that age, a lot of time. So you would think baseball would be enough, but it's not. All right. So some of the feedback we got, here's some pictures of various theme nights where we had, you know, we had sack races and red versus blue. We had a dunk tank for education night. I didn't see anybody there volunteering for the TDA to be in the dunk tank, but actually the person that did volunteer, he ended up staying there for about an hour and a half before we could get a kid to switch with him. But we had the fire department come out, and we tried to, using the theme nights, try to engage the community as best we can to kind of, you know, bring everybody under this umbrella of baseball. And we actually ended up getting a lot of comments from people that attended games that, you know, said they don't normally watch baseball. They don't normally attend baseball. In fact, several people came up to us and said, we don't even really know the rules of baseball. We just enjoy coming out to see the community come together. And that was really heartwarming to hear that, because frankly, we want everybody to feel included, not just baseball fans. So that was very refreshing. So let's see here. And then, so a few things, just want to get some feedback from the players. We did survey the players to just kind of get an idea what they knew about Jacksonville before they arrived here, barring the players that lived in the area or eastern North Carolina, which we had about a dozen or so at most. Every player loved the area and the environment they played in. They loved Jacksonville. To them, coming from Missouri or Canada, if you will, Jacksonville might as well be a coastal town. They loved it here. On their days off, they were at the beach, or they're, frequenting one of the local businesses or entertainment venues. Numerous families had family visit from the area for the first time. Most all player families stayed in either hotels or Airbnbs. I mean, they came multiple times to hang out with their players, their sons, to see them play. And in fact, one report from one family from Delaware said they're looking to buy a house locally. So I think they're kind of ready to make the move down here permanently. And then one of the questions we asked the players, would you recommend to other players to play here in Jacksonville? Everybody said yes, would definitely recommend players play in Jacksonville. Some of the players, we also asked for improvements. So like where could we improve on? Obviously the location, the field, playing surface was top notch. We're not gonna lie, it was very good. But some of the things that the players had asked about were possibly modernizing the dugouts. Frequently the players were kind of sitting on top of each other. Space is very limited, especially when you have, up to 30 plus collegiate athletes, if you will, in the dugout. Some other augments were, just basic things such as redoing the pitcher's mounds, because pitching in baseball is very important. Like half our roster, or if not more, is all pitchers. So pitching is the name of the game. You have to constantly keep your pitchers happy. So that was something that a lot of pitchers gave us good feedback on. Water access on the field. We had talked to Parks and Rec about this, but they said possibly just getting water access. The main premise behind that is, frankly, when you water the dirt, if you will, the infield dirt, it actually makes it softer, not so hard to play on, and reduces injuries of sorts. These are just things that the collegiate athletes would kind of inform us on, or our front office, like Dylan would educate me on. And then just some other things, small things such as non-removable bases, bullpen benches, things of that nature. Really, I wouldn't say are large capital expenditures by no means, but rather are really great feedback. So that way, when the next group of Osprey ball players come in, they're like, wow, this is exactly what we need for that player development, if you will. Because if players go back home and they say, look, like for instance, Jason Mack, I'll give you a prime example. He, a freshman at UNCW, rising sophomore, he said he absolutely loved it here. He could show up, talk to Jerome Smith, which, by the way, Jerome Smith with Parks and Recreation was awesome to work with this summer. He's an awesome man, a great person. And Jason Mack and other players would love to go to the field and be able to hit on the field even on their days off, or come in around noon, take a little time off, go eat, refresh, and then come back for the game that we had that night. And you would think players would use their time off just to relax, and they did, but there's some players, there's a contingent of players that will play the game of baseball and practice it day in and day out. And they, from UNCW, so UNCW has a great baseball program. Jason Mack said he's definitely going back to recommend to his coach and to other players that if you want reps, if you want to get player development, Jacksonville is the place to be. So I just wanted to highlight that, case in point with Jason Mack, kind of a team captain, if you will, this summer that we had. So the players overall really enjoyed it. Some of the things that we operationally felt that we could hopefully benefit from in the future, if at all possible, was primarily like a concession stand. First year, it was great. We partnered with Share the Table so we can have a beer garden. We partnered with many food trucks. But frankly, financially, there's a lot of money that kind of is taken off the table, if you will, from the program when it goes to the food trucks, because, we only get, a small percentage of, the checks that they write to us. And then same thing with the beer garden. A lot of the big things that we heard about that is that if they could carry their beer with them throughout the concourse area. So obviously what that entails from a brick and mortar concession stand or something that's maybe more permanent or semi-permanent. I'm not an expert in that area, but would definitely benefit the program, not just financially the program, but also the fans in attendance. That would make things just much more conducive. For instance, we've had several corporations reach out to us and say, look, I'd like to buy a package. I got 40 employees, I want to buy tickets, merch, food, I want to buy everything. Well, we could do the tickets and we can definitely do the merch, but when it came to the food thing, our hands were kind of tied. We can't offer them a comprehensive package, if we will, from that standpoint. And we find out that going in year 2, group sales would definitely be something that can greatly increase attendance, especially when we can package things together, if you will. And so, like I said, I'm not an expert in concession stand construction or anything, but that would definitely be, if there was anything at the top of the list, that's definitely at the top of the list. PA system was great, but our current PA guy that was there, radio guy, Dream Entertainment, they said that the field could definitely benefit from added speakers, if you will. There's people that were down the left field line or right field line that couldn't quite hear the announcements. So just, and a few other things of that nature, if you will. Like I said, not major capital improvements on the player side or the entertainment side, but we had a very good foundation to work with that overall is a resounding success. So, and I'd like to share, if I may, just a couple host family testimonials, because as you know, the players that came to stay here in Jacksonville from Tokyo or Canada or, Fuquay Arena, wherever they came from, they stayed with the host family. So I'd like to share just 3, if I could, because we actually surveyed our host families as well. Every single one of them said this was an awesome experience. And so, for instance, from the Wilson family, they hosted Ryan Davis out of Michigan, Clare University. They said the Wilsons have enjoyed hosting Ryan and are especially grateful for their family dinners that Ryan has made time for with them. We have had many laughs together and played some great card games. We especially enjoyed Ryan's laughing. It was so beautiful to hear his laughter in our home. Thank you, Ryan, for being such a great addition to our family this summer. The Lattimore family, they hosted 3 players this summer. They said they would absolutely not miss a game unless it was over 2.5 hours away. They were constantly convoying around with the team all over to go see games. They said their most favorite memory was taking their players roller skating for the very first time. 2 of those players were Japanese ball players, by the way. So I guess they don't have roller skating rinks in Japan. And playing tennis on days off. This has truly been an unforgettable experience. The bond we have created with Stanley and his family and Kataro and Ose have been amazing. Having Reyes and Martinez, which are 2 other players from the Dominican Republic down the street, they didn't have a car, by the way, so they pick them up and take them out, was also great. We have learned so much from these young, talented men. By far, one of our best summer experiences ever. We're not looking forward to the season ending. And then one more real quick, if I could. This one's, we say he is the life of the party in the dugout. He's our Canadian kid. He looks more like a hockey player than a baseball player, Noah Gaggle, but he is very fun to be around. They said Noah has been very entertaining, to say the least, has been a wonderful young man to host this summer, and his family has been especially nice and came to visit for 3 to 4 games. Noah has been taking college courses online with his school, and who can forget the time that a baseball went through his back windshield of his car at the ballpark, only to completely shatter to pieces once he started backing out. This is true. So, wait, there's more. Noah once turned into the wrong lane here in Jacksonville and was pulled over by the police. When asked why he was driving on the wrong side of the road, he replied to the officer that he was from Canada and that he was still getting used to the traffic laws here in Jacksonville, North Carolina. The officer and Noah went on to talk about baseball and the Ospreys for about another 30 minutes, and he was let off with a warning as well. And we will always remember how his mom, dad, and 2 sisters came over to wake him up as he liked his beauty sleep, and they would all jump on top of the bed with him to wake him up. So the family would stay in a hotel, but come over and wake him up from his slumber. So these stories, every host family had a wonderful story. and every player had a wonderful experience here. So we'd just like to say thank you to the TDA and to everyone that supported Jacksonville Ospreys baseball. There's definitely places we could definitely make the program better, and just, I mean, a pinnacle of summer collegiate baseball here in Eastern North Carolina for many years to come. And we look forward to sharing and answering any questions that you guys might have. So sharing more information.
Eli, thank you very much. I know we're pleased with your results for the first year. I think it's fantastic so far.
Well, Eli, I think it's us who should thank you and your wife for bringing this to Jacksonville. It's something that a lot of us in this room have kind of looked forward to for a long time. Never knew that it would be available, became available. You and your wife stepped up and brought it to Jacksonville. I've heard no negative comments about the Osprey. I mean, the whole thing is just work. And for it to be the first year, the work and the effort that you and your wife put into it were just fantastic. And I can't say enough about what you've brought to this community, because this baseball thing this summer has been the talk of the town as far as people getting together. So hats off to you and your wife and the whole organization. It's a shot in the arm for Jacksonville, and it's something that we look forward to in the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And if I may, real quick, you mentioned my wife, Dylan, his wife, our coach's wives, like all the women behind the scene, like to make it possible. We're constantly running around at that ballpark from whether it's someone stopping us midway, like, hey, I have a question. Like all summer was constant, but I can tell you it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to be around these ball players, the fans, the mascot, the kids, the host families. It was a great time. So thank you.
Thank you. Look forward to next year.
One thing I enjoyed seeing the kids.
Mm-hmm.
They had a lot of fun out there. Reminded me when we used to play over in Phillips Park. The kids that even with us as little leaguers, it was just always great to see the little ones run around. And I think we all just had a good time. But please stick to your day job, because you are a terrible Taylor Swift.
There were just two comments as a fan, and I echo Mr. Hagan's comments about thanking for bringing it. As a fan, thoroughly enjoyable. I would like to, I don't know if you heard any complaints about the scoreboard, but it certainly was not fan-friendly. It was just very difficult to see. And also echo the fact that it was inconvenient to get up from right field side to go into the beer garden and have to sit there. It'd been much better if we could have brought it back to our seat. But, you know, that there is some feelings about not wanting to do that, but there's some that want to do it, me included. But anyway, thank you. It was enjoyable to watch. Good product.
Thank you. And there were a few actually ball players that in their recommendation of improvements, the scoreboard was actually on a few ball players' recommendation to maybe get a larger scoreboard that's easier to see and see more information. Yeah.
Super. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we move on, gentlemen, if I could, I'd just like to speak from the city's perspective a little bit. And I have to say that James Brown's going to have to move over, because these three right here, they're the hardest working folks in show business. You know, if you were to pay them by the hour, it wouldn't be much. But the value that came from this team for the community is immense, and it's immeasurable. We got contacted by a reporter today who wanted to talk about the economic impact of having the baseball team. And my point to her was, well, it's difficult to quantify that, but that's not the biggest impact on the community. You know, if you go back to that picture you had on the last slide, this is what it's about, right? I feel like the economic impact is secondary in this case. And it's still important, but I mean, those kids are going to remember this for the rest of their lives. Same with the ball players. And as far as, you know, improvements for next season, a lot of that stuff is already in process. We've already debriefed with Ellie and his team, and There are things that we just ran out of time on, things that we ran out of money on, but nothing that we've talked about so far is insurmountable. So next year is going to be just as good, if not better, of an experience for everyone.
I agree. Thank you, Mr. Bruce. And like I said, the support from the city, the county giving us the grant to buy the practice equipment, which was critical. I can't say how much that was critical for player development. When those players can, to them, that's their playground. If they can go there and play baseball all summer long and get those reps in, they're in baseball heaven. You know what I'm saying? So we're excited to see what kind of talent this brings. Actually, real quick, if I could, one of the players right here, Martinez to the left, he has a best friend that he almost brought down. We're actually talking to him and seeing about getting him here. We're actually going to buy him a plane ticket because he didn't have any money and say, look, we'll get you here. We got a host family lined up. You know, and we even had a host family lined up that had a car for him to use because he didn't have a car. And the night we're actually going to buy the ticket, he contacted us and said, sorry, I'm not going to be able to come down. I just got invited to go play in the MLB Draft League. So inevitably, you know, so when you have these player development amenities and things of that nature, you naturally attract players that are serious about their craft. And hopefully one day, if not from our current roster this summer or in future summers, we'll potentially have ball players get drafted. And that'll be something that, hey, look, Jacksonville was critical and the Ospreys were critical in helping them get to that you know, level of baseball that they're trying to obtain. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So we can move right on to the Sports Commission update, and it's Mr. Scott Smith today. So
Congrats on successful first season. With the price of groceries, do you think that family would host my three boys for the rest of this calendar year? That would be very helpful.
I got a couple to throw in too.
Yeah, let's do it. That would be great. Save me a lot of money. So Anthony asked if I would come give you an update on a couple of recent events that we hosted, and then I'll throw in a few other things, and I'll be fairly brief here. So if y'all remember, we hosted the Frogman event back on June 1st, partnered with, I think, just about every department within the city, Michael's crew, Wally's crew, Susan's crew, TDA. I even saw Lexi sweating out there putting up targets. So there's no photo proof of that, but she was out there. So this was a great first-year event. There was really three events. There was the trail run, there was the bow hunting challenge, and then there was a dinner. We had 430 registrants sign up across all three of those events. The trail run sold out in year one, which was fantastic. You can see the room nights and economic impact there. But I think another great thing was this was the first event on the 400 acres. Even though it's not, you know, officially opened, we were able to see potentially what could happen out there, as Anthony mentioned earlier, if we build in some trails and do some things. You know, this is an event that can continue year after year, hopefully continue to grow. But it really was a great first-year event, and all the city folks that worked can't say enough about getting the trails done, the cutout lanes for the bow hunting, everything that happened. It was a really great event. You know, we benefited from it, the Wild Turkey Federation. And if you remember, this was, you know, for Chris Campbell, and it was about honoring his legacy and the things he was passionate about. And one of those, obviously, one of the partners was Hope for the Warriors. And $7,750 went to them to fulfill a Warrior's wish. And we're actually doing the check presentation tomorrow. But a lot of good came from this event. Now, it was hot. I was constantly on the lookout for snakes. There was lots. So in 2025, we've got March 22nd locked in. We're going to do it when it's a little cooler and it won't be nearly as hot. So before I move on, though, any other comments or questions on the Frogman event?
If I could put in one
Sure.
thing here, Scott. This is one that may not necessarily be as much about the economic return as it is the purpose, right, and the meaning behind the event itself. And I did get the pleasure of interacting with a snake, and that was at the
Yeah, you
first
sent me a
lane that
picture.
I went to. It was probably a 6-foot black snake. So,
Yeah. But I do think this one can continue to grow. Definitely the bow hunting portion. great feedback from that. So most bow hunting competitions will have 15 or so targets. There was 31 targets for this one for each of the fallen that were killed in Afghanistan. And so lots of great feedback on that. We had, I don't know if there's such a thing as a professional bow hunter, but we had a couple of guys that their scores kind of said they were professional bow hunters, and they all said they would be back. I don't know that word got out like we wanted it to be honest, through the Wild Turkey Federation for year one. There's already another organization that we're talking with that are going to help promote it, and we're going to see if we can't make it part of a series. So Jacksonville would be one of the stops. So that could help grow the economic impact side of this thing. There's a couple other pictures there. And then, a staple in the community, the East Coast Invitational. Again, the Susan staff's very involved in this as well, but it continues to be the largest economic impact and room night event. We had 36 teams this year, 70 plus officials, plus the family and friends. I do not have an update on the streams, but you can see right after the event, there was already 42,000 streams on the screen. You'll see your Visit Jacksonville logo a lot, with other sponsors. So I've said this to you guys before, but I want to reiterate this. So the funding that we get from you that we're so appreciative of, we actually turn around and give some of this money back out to events. Number one, to support, but number two, hopefully they're not coming in here and asking you, for money all the time. They're kind of going through us. But this year, there's a little more this year than normal. We gave $8,903 to ECI basketball. We also helped them get a new $2,500 sponsor, and we got three meals donated. So one of the things that we did, and we gave an extra $2,500 so that they could add 4 teams and an additional site. So we added a new site, added 4 teams. The feedback, though, after Wells said, let's go back down to 32. The site, because of the officiating, cost about $3,500 more dollars, and he said it watered down the officiating. The quality of officials wasn't as great by spreading. And it didn't change the economic impact in room nights very much at all. So we'll probably go back down to 32 teams next year. Now, again, the multi-sport complex gets open, I think everything changes. Because you got a picture. He's got to have people at every site managing those sites, at the door and on the courts and all those things. When you could be under one roof, that takes your number of volunteers and workers you need way down as far as, now hopefully it goes up on the number of courts, but as far as the kind of infrastructure there. But again, continues to be a fantastic event, and one that has been here 23 years, hopefully will be here another 23 and so on. But and then I'll just mention a couple of quick things. And this Saturday, the World Series of Arm Wrestling South Regional is right down the road here at Black Hawk CrossFit. Again, another one we're supporting with a grant. You guys are supporting. It is the qualifier to go to Las Vegas. If you're familiar with the Tubi app, there is a series on this World Series of Arm Wrestling, and there will be an episode that is dedicated specifically to Jacksonville. And they are also working toward having a military, so we'll have a military division here. They're working toward having a military division at all of the locations, and then maybe culminating with a championship in Jacksonville. So the other cities there's Fort Worth and Albuquerque and Atlantic City, and so it's big time. And then a new event, our Onslow Cup Disc Golf Tournament, August 10th and 11th, is sold out already, brand new event. 75% of the slots were gone less than 24 hours after registration opened. Again, if we can get a world-class disc golf course, which is pretty inexpensive on the 400 acres, I think we can host some pro-level type events, because this is one step down from the pros with the added cash and everything we're doing. And then Carolina Gloves is locked in for next year. Its numbers are getting close to ECI. I think we can eventually get it there. And then we're going to host 2 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments next year. One on January 4th, one on June 7th at the Commons. Nationwide, these events average 800 competitors. They, also, his average nationwide, 40% is his low as far as out-of-towners at any of his sites. 80% is the high. Most, or about half, would be what we would call out-of-town folks that are going to have to spend the night. And then they want to make this annual, where there's 2 events in Jacksonville each year. They're the closest to us. There is an event in Wilmington each year, but they're all over the country. So that's something new we can look forward to next year. But again, I'll wrap up with that, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Did the scoreboards come in time?
They did not.
Did not.
They did not. So that'll be a big addition for next year. Some of that money we gave was, again, just to make this look like some of these other tournaments you go to. Logo tablecloths with the ECI logos and those sort of things. Some flags for out front to make those sites easier for people to find that are trying to find Jacksonville High School, or, hey, which one's Northside High School or whatever. So that was some of that additional money this year.
Well, the scoreboards, it wasn't for lack of effort, because I know the Recreation Department pushed very,
Right.
very hard.
Right.
So some things are out of our control. And one thing that is also out of your control is that building won't be ready next year.
I know.
I mean, it's on a fast track, but not that fast.
Well, Wells is talking it up to anybody that'll listen. He's got a close relationship with Reggie Bullock, who plays for the Rockets now, I believe, and Reggie's involved in those Nike tournaments and the Under Armour and all those, and they said, hey, we're ready when you guys are ready. So it'll be
He's a
great.
Kinston kid, so
Yeah,
not that far away.
right. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Scott.
Scoreboards will be delivered actually tomorrow.
Almost.
Okay, we've got up to our FY 2024 year-end report.
Mr. Chairman, you're going to get a reprieve from my voice because Alexis is going to present our
Thank you.
report. I thought you would need a break by now. We'll just take the batteries out of this microphone.
There's a lot, but I'm going to try to keep it condensed. And I've never done this before. Anthony's always done it for me, so we'll try this year to do it myself. So we had our H2R brand perception health research in the fourth quarter of last year. We did our session 1 work, study. It was held in February with community stakeholders, and you guys participated. Thank you, to develop a forward-looking strategy. Excuse me. And then we just held our second session on Tuesday of this week to hone in on those priorities that we have and develop the ideas to execute them. We're focusing on increasing awareness of Jacksonville, improving the downtown area, increasing arts and culture in the community, increasing the ability to provide venues and bring in more sports and recreation opportunities, and develop better water access to both visitors and residents. Through that study, we also developed a new logo. You guys have seen this. It was feedback based on the study and the survey that they did with the people. It has elements of both the city and the tourism, and respondents really like that water feel to it, really showing us as the waterfront destination that we want to be. We did a lot of improvements on the website. We added pages such as itineraries, night on the town, local dining, military reunion programs, and we look to add more. We increased our search engine optimization, or SEO, by ensuring the right keywords were used throughout the website, and this just helps us, bump us in those search engines like Google. So we're top of the list when people start researching Jacksonville, North Carolina. And we're continually making these improvements, so look out for them. We have a video on the main page now, which I'm pretty excited about. We sent out our first newsletter this year. It was sent out at the beginning of this summer, and our next one is going to be sent out on August 1st for the fall edition. We'll be highlighting the best activities in our area during the season, as well as small local businesses. We really want to start building up the veteran businesses and the restaurants here, International Food Trail, and getting that information out. We currently have 105 subscribers, and it's increasing every month. So we're really gaining traction on that. Our social media has done great this year. We have had an increase in our audience reach and visits overall on both the Instagram and Facebook pages. Our highest recent post included the Ospreys kickoff, which reached over 42,000 people, and the Pacific Arts Festival promotion, which reached over 35,000 people. So those are really great numbers for us. Engagement with the community has increased with local businesses mentioning us in their posts and allowing us to reshare their content. So that's creating more awareness within the city of new events and offerings, both inside and outside of our community. Media placements, Teresa's going to go over more of this, but we had a total of 147 pieces of coverage, offline, online, and through social clips, reaching over 178 million viewers. So that was pretty amazing this year. We will be continuing that media influence. We have an influencer actually coming in today who's going to do coverage on the nature trails, the International Food Trail, and the Summer Latin Fiesta this weekend, and the concert series. Everybody go to that if it's not rain. First season.
It's not going to rain.
It's not going to rain. Positivity. FY24 events, we had 18 events, 3 of them being new. You've heard the Ospreys, which did amazing. The bow hunting, which again, amazing. As Scott said, it was our first event on the 400 acres, which was great and worked out really well. And then the Summer Latin Fiesta, and that one was surprising. They had over 7,000 attendees, which far superseded what we expected, and we are excited to see how this year performs on Saturday. And then our red, I'm not good at that. Red, White, and Salute event, we had new additions this year. So we had the 20 Ride Tribute Band, which was amazing. People loved that music. It went really well with the atmosphere. And we had the beer garden, which again, great improvement. And we had NC Tripping there who did some coverage on it, which really helped build that social media awareness. We had our first Battle of the Bands event that was sponsored by the National Dodge dealership. We had 5 bands participate, 3 winners. And I think next year we're going to gain a lot of momentum on there. You know, it was one of those things where people really didn't know what it was about this year, and next year they're going to be more excited. So I expect to see a lot more excitement about that in Jamboree of this year. We did the Jack Amiot investments, you know, to help with the Ospreys, helped with the fields, the bleachers, and the batting cages that they were able to utilize. We also added new Lejeune Memorial Garden signs. So that helped with the QR codes. We were able to improve those audio tour QR codes, and the logo was changed out to reflect our new logo. The Blue Ways is huge for us this year. Staff developed specific routes that led to points of interest in the community and provided, you know, options to see the wonderful scenery that's out there that they really didn't know about before. They also developed an interactive map that's on our website and the city's website for visitors and residents alike to follow along and choose the appropriate path based on their experience, because each one, you know, goes from easy, intermittent to hard. And the interest, the points of interest that they want to see. Actually, the transportation and TDA just did a team building exercise where we went through one of these trails. It's 2.5 miles long. It was a lot of fun. And that leads to our kayak rental kiosks. You know, these have been fantastic. I have heard nothing but amazing feedback from them. They've been a huge hit. Northeast Creek Park alone brought in 244 since January. A total of almost 500 year to date. So that's pretty great. You know, we're just going to build awareness of that. Our military reunion program, super excited about this. We are officially off the ground. We developed great marketing materials for the reunions coming into town, talked to the hotels. They're helping us kind of get in touch with them. We developed a challenge coin program that offered or offers reunion members special discounts throughout the community. And we cultivated some really great relationships with the Military Reunion Summit this last June. And we will continue to work with our vendors in the area and utilize the resources we have to increase those reunions in the coming years. And then finally, our hospitality roundtable that we started this year. We had 10 participants, and we're currently adding more. 7 meetings total for FY24, and we've been discussing some critical issues in the industry and collaborating on ways that we can really, you know, bring everybody together to make the tourism here more impactful, and see how we can bring together tourism packages and just ways that they work together. And that's it. See, I did that fast. Any questions?
Alexa, thank you very much. That's a lot got done this year, it seems like. We've got some new stuff and some growing stuff, and A lot to look forward to.
Yeah, and I will add, thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of it this year. This has been like an amazing experience for me personally, and I just truly love being a part of everything that's being done and the improvements that we're doing in the community and just seeing it build. It's a great experience, so thank you.
It's great to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gentlemen, before we move on, of course, we couldn't do any of this without your support. So we certainly appreciate having that month after month when we come to you with new ideas on how to do things bigger, better, faster. And we'll continue to do that as we move forward. Everything that you saw on the screen there was done by a relatively small number of people. And so we've got some top-notch folks that put in a lot of hours to make sure that we're successful with all of this. A number of those folks are sitting over there right now. I can't see over the podium very well. I can see the top of Stephanie's head. Stephanie does a lot of our social media and helps with many, many other things. Of course, our recreation director, Susan Baptist, is there too. Alexis, you just heard from her. Teresa Beecham, she's just tourism extraordinaire, marketing extraordinaire. And then, of course, Scott, he's hiding back there too. You know, all of our nonprofit partners have collaborated with us excellent this year, in an excellent way this year. And you can see it in the results. So all of that is because of many of those folks that are sitting in the audience here, as well as others that weren't able to make it. But I'm just very proud of what we were able to accomplish this year.
Any, okay, follow-up? We'll go to our promotions committee report. We got, okay, good.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'll try to keep it brief. I will keep it brief, rather, because I know we're over time already. Want to cover a couple of events that have happened since you last met. Sorry for missing the last meeting. I don't miss many. The Pacific Arts Festival was the last weekend in June. Good turnout. They had a great time. You can see one of the photos here. I love this one with the guys. They have crowd participation, and these gentlemen were learning the warrior dance. They had a record number of vendors at the event. They had people calling them up until the last minute, and they had to turn them away. They had some unique vendors this year that did really well. These I just happened to pick. They were two of my favorites. They did a workshop the night before and then a workshop the day of that people could sign up for coconut weaving. Believe it or not, it's a thing. And the fruits and vegetables vendor, that was a great addition. That was really cool. We've got some good ideas on what we can do with that. They are this was their 10th year. And so they're looking for they're already in talks, ways to grow this event more and to pivot the event and do something really cool. So you'll be hearing more about that in the future. Next, we'll go to Ali Temple, was the weekend before. And I chose these pictures because this is what it's about. These guys come together once a year, and some of these folks come back year after year after year, and this is the only time they see each other. So they form friendships, and they just have a really good time together. These are photos from the welcome fish fry that they do at the hotel at the Hampton Inn and Suites. And then on Saturday, that was on Friday night. Saturday, they have a luncheon, and these are two of the recipients of their scholarship program that they do, and these are emerging college students from Jacksonville and all the folks that worked on the event. And then on to the ball. These guys have a good time. If y'all are looking for something to do, let me tell you, they know how to do it. So one thing they did different this year, which is really good for them and good for us, is as a community and as tourism industry, is they combined the event, the men, the nobles, and the court, which is the men's group and the women's group, got together, and typically they have separate events. So they decided to get together, and the women bring things and the men bring things positive to the event. One of the comments I heard was, from a couple of the guys is, boy, they spend a lot of money on decorations. And of course, my comment was, well, you kind of need them. So, it dresses it up, it makes it better, right? So they are looking to grow this event. They will, for the first time since we've been working with them, we're going to be selling tickets online. They are, I say we, because I feel like a part of them by now. And they can do some really big things with this event. They sold 370 tickets and had 194 hotel nights between 3 hotels. I think their only complaint about Hampton is they want 100% instead of 70. Upcoming events, just to keep them on your radar, we have the Summer Latin Fiesta. Alexis mentioned last year they just blew it up. And so this year we've been promoting it for quite some time. And these girls work hard. They are little workhorses, I'm going to tell you. They are hustlers. And so I look forward to that. That is this Saturday. The following Saturday is Hot Summer Nights Fashion Show. And then, of course, we have the half marathon on Camp Lejeune, September 14th. Couple of influencer placements, sorry about that, that we have that we wanted to make sure and feature is we hosted Craven Carolina, who is an influencer out of Raleigh with 22,000 followers. She highlighted the International Food Trail, and I'd like to preface these two people that I'm going to talk about the International Food Trail with. The International Food Trail is a crazy big hit. People love it. But the good thing is when they come here, they're not just doing the International Food Trail. We've talked about this as a staff is, they want to go to other restaurants in between. They might go somewhere else for breakfast. They want to do other things. They can't just eat all day and all night. Believe it or not, most of them are not really big people. They've learned how to do this. And they want to do other things. They both participated in did the kayaking, and they loved it. The Blue Ways, and to be able to rent kayaks is something that Susan and I are just doing cartwheels over. So thank you to everyone who put that together. But so this particular influencer, it rained cats and dogs. So she had to figure out something. We had to kind of pivot with her and figure something else for her to do. She did go to Clove Hitch and the Kettle Diner, by the way, but we hooked her up at Coastal Massage downtown, one of the up-and-coming businesses down there, and she had a great experience there, so that was nice. She also went to Swansboro and really enjoyed what she could do there, popping in and out of the stores. NC Travel Eats is another Raleigh influencer. Again, she was here for the International Food Trail and said that the highlight of her time here was kayaks. So you can see some of the other things she did. She featured Blend Cafe. We did a collaborative reel with her, and that reel ended up with over 60,000 plays. So that's pretty big on social media, I'd say. Yeah, that's huge.
I'm still getting notifications that people are commenting on that reel.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I'm assuming everybody in here gets our state magazine, and hopefully you saw the article in the June edition for Southern Breeze Seafood, our next local celebrity. They have over 1 million readers on print and online, and we had, as a result of hosting a couple of our state writers and a couple of freelance writers, or our state staff rather, we got this story landed. It was a 4-page spread on Southern Breeze Seafood and what John and Randy have accomplished and what they're doing there. So this story is incredible. If you haven't seen it, I believe Alexis has a copy of it. We can send it to you guys electronically, or she will after this. A little side note, these guys are really on the move. Not only does he know seafood inside and out and has a great personality, something that he is doing that is just kind of, I just feel compelled to share. I love it myself. I sound like a walking commercial for John, but he has come up with, in partnership with Tidewater Grain. Did y'all know that we grow rice outside of Oriental? Yes, They're rice patties. So Tidewater Grain has partnered with John. They met through agricultural connections, and he has created a breader mix, seafood, chicken, and all-purpose. It is gluten-free, and it's rice-based. So you don't even have to put milk and eggs on your meat or seafood before you fry it or saute it. It sticks to it naturally because of the rice. It is so good, and it is so natural and healthy. There's only 3 ingredients. I mean, it is really tasty. So if you haven't been to Southern Breeze Seafood, pop in, get you some good seafood, but try the food truck in the parking lot. You will not be sorry that you did. So that's my commercial for John and what he does. He does some good stuff. So that is a wrap for me. If there are no questions,
What month was that in our state?
June,
June.
month before last, yep. Yep. How did you miss that? The reader that
He
you are.
was busy reading our minutes.
Or watching baseball.
Yeah, true. We sat together and watched a baseball game.
Teresa?
So I would just like to say thank you. Like Alexis said, it is a pleasure to do this job. It's great when you wake up and love your job every day, but I just love being able to do the things that we do for our community because we're all in this together, and I'm proud to have just a small part of that. So thank you to you, to Anthony, to all the people out here that I work with. I really, really appreciate it.
We thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
All right. So here we go, right down to the director's comments. For none? All right, then we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you so much for coming.